Welcome to Ancient Geeks, a podcast about two geeks of a certain age looking back on their younger selves, the kind of geeky things they enjoyed, why they enjoyed them before they became part of the American popular culture mainstream or the world popular culture mainstream. We were geeks before it was chic. I'm your co-host, Tom Grant, and I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
And I'm your co-host, Steven Taylor, and I swear I won't kill anyone.
You swear?
I swear.
Do you have your
I might shoot him in the knees.
Okay.
I might shoot him in the knees.
You'll
but
live.
I swear I will not live. Exactly. I swear I will not kill anyone.
Yeah. Okay. So the topic today is Terminator 2, the sequel, of course, to the Terminator, which we talked about last episode. But before we get into the movie, what geeky things have you been doing lately?
So my side geek hustle, I guess this week of late, I've been, for no particular reason at all, I started reading old Marvel team-ups with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Just because why not?
Why not?
No, I did get to the one about the werewolf, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to read the one about the werewolf, but
Wait, is it Werewolf by Night or Man-Wolf?
Just werewolf. I don't know if it's werewolf by night. Probably werewolf by night. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I got through anyway. They're okay.
Yeah.
I know there's a burn run later that I was kind of interested in. I think that's part of what started me down this pathway. It is the positive and negative of Marvel Unlimited. It's all there for me. So
Okay.
Why not?
So for people who don't know what we're talking about, Marvel had this team-up book because Spider-Man was the most popular character. They would place him in very forced situations with practically every other character in the Marvel universe, including Conan the Barbarian in an
And
issue.
Red Sonja.
And Red Sonja, and also Killraven from the future. So anyway, it's kind of hard to explain the mood of these comics, but it was, again, sort of artificial. Right?
It tended to be. The funny thing is that I don't think I've ever read the first ones. The first several are just him and the Human Torch.
Right.
And there actually is a story that runs through the first several issues, including other characters. But the thing that I found kind of interesting about it, at the early stage at least, is that the characters don't often get along, and they're usually really rude to one another for no particularly good reason that I could tell. But it was like the shtick with Spider-Man, I guess. I don't know.
I think that's sort of the bad writing fallacy that if you make people unpleasant to each other, that creates drama. And who was writing these comics at the time?
I think maybe Jerry Conway,
Jerry Conway? Right.
Someone should, I think that's who wrote the first several ones.
As he was never one of my favorite writers. Or Bill Mantlo was another one that I just kind of avoided whenever I could. Anyway, so that's what Marvel team up is. There was also Marvel
2 and 1,
which was The Thing and fill in the blank.
Yes.
The Thing from the Fantastic Four. And there was even the supervillain team up for a short time in the 70s.
Well, it's just also like The Brave and the Bold in the DC Universe, or DC Comics Presents with Superman Plus,
That's
whomever.
Right. Yeah. Though I think World's Finest worked better because it was consistently
that was always Superman
Batman and
Batman.
Superman.
And the Super Sons at times.
Yeah. But I Brave and the Bold was I think still better than Marvel 2 and 1.
No, I agree. I agree.
Okay, what I've been doing, so I've been watching a lot of Western movies because of the class that I'm doing on Westerns in movies. And also we have a local film club about Westerns. The only, I think, geeky movie noteworthy I've seen lately, which I watched in a lark, was Billy the Kid versus Dracula, which stars John Carradine as Dracula.
Well, sure.
So anyway, but I also finally finished My Neighbor Totoro. I kept getting distracted. So in trying to go through the Miyazaki canon, I got to that, and I don't know what I'm going to watch next. I've got so many things to watch right now. It's hard to do another series of movies along with Westerns and the movies we watch for this and so forth. And my life is a living hell. What can I say?
Well, it sounds terrible.
All right. If we could afford a soundtrack for this episode, what song would you pick?
So I'm gonna do a double Pink Floyd. So I did Pink Floyd last week. I'm gonna do Dogs of War from 1987's A Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Oh, nice one. All right, I like that one. I was unimaginative and just chose George Thorogood and the Destroyers
That
Bad to the
was
Bone.
an excellent choice, and I did note in my notes about this movie that the needle drops are pretty good early on in this
Oh
film.
yeah. Oh yeah. I also seem to remember, and I failed to look this up beforehand. I remember the George Thorogood music video for this, and I
Hmm.
don't recall if there were there was some sort of tie-in with the movie, but I just remember he and George Thorogood and Bo Diddley were playing pool, and that's all I remember.
I It's out of my head right now. I know I've seen it, but I can't help you on that one. Sorry.
All right. All right, Terminator 2 or T2 is the cool kids call it.
T2 Judgment Day.
Yeah, 1991.
Hmm.
I'm guessing you saw this in the theater.
See, I think I saw it on videotape. I
You
don't think
did.
I saw.
Okay.
I don't, but I can't remember. I just don't recall exactly when I saw it. Although I know I've seen it more than once.
Because
But
your
I
parents didn't want to enable your
No,
unhealthy obsession with killer robots.
I was in grad school at this point. So I'd have been in Austin, 91, a year into grad school.
Yeah.
But I don't. Honestly, I probably didn't go to the movies because this is not a movie my wife would have wanted to see. We were newly married at this point in time, and so I probably just
Mhm.
didn't. I mean, I had some friends I might could have gone with, but I just don't think I went to the movies. But I think I rented it not long after and watched it.
So, what movies in 1991 did you see?
Oh, I did not prepare for this question.
Of course not. So, here, let me look up real quickly. Top movies of 1991. How about The Doors?
I'm gonna probably solve your problem. The odds are all the ones you're gonna name I didn't go see.
Silence of the Lambs?
I did see that with a friend. That I distinctly remember seeing with with a friend from grad school. So I did see Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, JFK?
No,
Okay, I refuse to see that movie. Cape Fear?
no,
Thelma and Louise?
nope. I've never seen any of these movies, to be
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
I'm a terrible, terrible cinephile.
Not a
But I
terrible
did see.
cinephile. You had a limited film going budget and you wanted to
I had
find
a
something
limited
that was
film going and
mutually
time.
agreeable.
That's
I
right.
get it.
That's
I
right.
get it. You're a good husband. Okay.
I know.
So you saw it on video cassette
Yeah, I'm
or
sure it was on
okay.
video cassette. It had to have been at that point in
Okay.
time. I know I saw it pretty soon after it was out. And again, maybe I saw it at the theater. I just don't remember. How about yourself? I think you saw it at the theater because
Oh, definitely saw it.
you are a movie-going dude who sees
I'm
all
a
these movies the first time they're available.
Yeah, and we both loved the first movie, so
Hmm.
it was an easy sell to get us
Yeah,
both to go there. And I think it was still in the era of lining up for a movie.
probably. In
Yeah,
California in particular.
yeah. So I
So many
definitely saw it
people.
and enjoyed it a lot. We'll get to our initial reactions. Were you at all surprised at how the sequel picked up where the previous
So
movie left off?
so this is again this sort of the way in which and I was curious as to how quickly you saw it because I think that the beginning of the
Hmm.
movie, if you knew nothing, is kind of an interesting you know switcheroo. There's a better word for this than that, but that's the one I came up with. It's a mystery, right? Who the bad guy is, because you
Right.
assume it's Arnie if you don't know the answer,
Hmm.
right? But I think that, and again, this movie follows the basic plot of the previous film with two entities from the future coming back, and this time they're trying to kill John Connor, not Sarah Connor. And of course, Arnie plays a reprogrammed Terminator who's going to save John Connor. And what's his name? Um, oh, what is his name? The guy that Robert Patrick plays the shape
The
shifting
the T-1000.
the T-1000. And he's the bad guy trying to kill John Connor. So I I knew when I saw the movie, I knew that Arnie was the good guy. It was kind of
Yeah.
one of those things that was hard to keep secret, right? I mean,
Yeah.
once the
Well,
movie's
he's
out
on
at
the
all,
poster.
yeah, but he could have been the bad guy
And he was
and
on the
being on
poster
the
for the
poster.
first movie, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, I think that unless you maybe went initial, did you know that he was the bad guy or the good guy when you first saw the movie?
I don't recall. I seem to remember being surprised, but I wasn't sure. But I'm not sure whether I was surprised by how well they accomplished that twist at the beginning, even though I expected it, or I completely was bamboozled until the big reveal.
I mean, I really watched it thinking about it this time because um, the appearance, it's because the sequence in the first movie, right, is the bad guy arrives first and the good guy arrives second.
Right,
And in this
right.
one, it's reversed, but it's
Hmm.
again, Arnold arrives first. And then also the way in which certain scenes are filmed, you do realize in this one, if you're paying attention, that Arnie doesn't kill anybody in that opening scene.
Right.
He does a lot of damage,
Hmm.
um, but mostly provoked damage, and is not as brutal as he is in the first movie, where he rips a guy's heart out, because as one
Right.
does. And they kind of hide whether or not the T-1000 kills the cop or not. It's not
Hmm.
clear visually. And then the scene that I thought was especially effective, if you still weren't sure, was when Arnie comes out and when John is running away from the T-1000 in the mall, sort of catacombs in the mall, and Arnie comes
Right.
around the corner. I mean, he was pretty threatening looking at that point.
Right.
And it's not really until you know who shoots whom and how this all plays out that you start to that it's clear in the text at least who the good guy is.
Right. Well, last time we said, as we often do, did there need to be a sequel? Did you expect there to be a
Hmm.
sequel? I kind of felt there would be a sequel at some point.
Hmm.
It was a successful enough movie, though I didn't have a clear idea how they'd do it. And
Right.
I thought it was a good device just to say, oh, it wasn't just one pairing of assassin and protector who got sent back in
Right.
time. That seemed pretty
Yeah,
straightforward
it
to me.
works. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, there's always the financial consideration for a film.
Hmm.
Any film that did well, I think it's still true now, but it was certainly true during this era. If a movie did well, there's going
Hmm.
to be a sequel.
Right.
And as we talked about in the last podcast, the original movie did far better than they expected. In fact, it was a pretty good return on investment, as I recall.
Yes, it was.
Um, and at this point, Schwarzenegger's becoming a real superstar, right? By this moment in time.
Right.
So that's all a no-brainer in that regard. And really, the end of the first movie suggests more story in a way that was organic, I thought.
Right. And not hard to greenlight a movie with that sort of background
Exactly.
from the first movie, though it was vastly more expensive. And here's where I'm going to just neatly segue into facts about the movie.
Go right ahead.
So the
It's a
original
neat
movie,
segue if you say it's a segue.
it's a segue. It's like if you explain a joke, it's no longer
That's
funny.
right. That's right.
Or if you call out to your significant other that you did something
Yeah, yeah.
right, yeah, don't do that.
Hey, look at me. No, that's
Look
not
at
it.
me. I made the bed. Honey,
Yeah,
it's not as effective if you call attention to it.
that's right.
Okay, so the original movie was made with a budget of $6 million,
Hmm.
and as we said last time, it feels like a lower budget movie, and they had to
It
do
does.
creative things in Los Angeles, like shoot on the streets without getting permits to do so, in order to make the movie. This movie was made with $100 million budget approximately, so big jump
And
in
you
what
can
they could
see the
do with the
money on the
movie.
screen. You can see the money
Oh,
on the screen.
definitely. Yeah. So Cameron had originally planned to make this a little earlier, or he would have certainly wanted to make it a little bit earlier. I feel like that was probably a propitious delay, because of the importance of the computer special
Yes.
effects in this movie.
Yes.
That was enough time for that to mature. But it was made between The Abyss, which did have CGI effects, and True Lies and Titanic.
Hmm.
So he was already kind of cutting his teeth on using CGI. There was an alien that was sort of liquid and in a late part of the movie that you saw for, I think, well, at least one scene. I don't know if it was more than one scene. There were complications over the film rights, though. There was a struggle over really who could actually okay the making of the movie, who would have creative control, who would make money from it, and so forth. They finally resolved that, and they made the movie.
I mean, how can this be? Because as far as I can tell, Hollywood accounting is always quite straightforward and makes total sense.
It does. It's the most transparent accounting imaginable. And it just makes sense that a movie that is a blockbuster hit around the world lost money.
Sure.
Okay, why not? This is the movie, I think, this and Jurassic Park that really cemented the role that CGI would play in movies in general, but especially, I would say, in the kinds of movies that we enjoyed,
And in Deep Space Nine.
and in Deep Space Nine, and Babylon 5.
Yeah, I was just talking
Huge
about
on
Odo.
Babylon.
I was just doing
Uh,
an Odo joke, but yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
know.
yeah, I was huge.
Oh, that went past me. I'm an idiot. Uh, some interesting facts about the movie. Originally, they thought about casting Billy Idol as the T-1000.
Well, with a rebel yell, what more could you ask for?
She cried more and more and more.
Yeah, it was at a white wedding. Anyway,
We could beat that to death. There were a lot of practical effects in this movie too. Like, for example, they
yes,
really did blow up a building that
yeah,
was
no, it's,
that they used for Cyberdyne. It was an abandoned office building in San Jose that was slated for demolition. So they said, "Why not? Let's
hey,
blow it up for a movie."
we'll do it for you. Yeah, no, you can see this. The practical effects are quite obvious.
Yeah,
The chase scenes. There's some really good chase scenes in this movie.
yeah. Um, the, the final scene was actually shot in a steel mill, the Kaiser steel mill, apparently. So there's a lot of, even though there's a lot of artificiality, we'll talk more about the special effects and a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
artificiality of things
No,
that were created
you
in a
can tell.
computer. There are also a lot of very real things in this movie, including, I did not know until I was uh, poking around various sources of information about the movie over the last couple of days, that in a couple of scenes, Linda Hamilton's twin sister
Oh yeah,
is
that's
in
right.
there. Yeah.
That's right. I did
Yeah,
know
I did
that.
not know that. Well, like
Yes.
especially when there's when the T-1000 is pretending to be her,
Hmm.
yeah, in the final scenes. But I guess that would also include the scene of her dream of the apocalypse, and she sees
I think that's right.
herself,
Yeah.
in the Bob's Big Boy uniform from the first movie,
No,
leading a happy suburban life,
with some very 80s hair.
some very 80s hair. Yeah, they really did reproduce the hair in that scene. A lot of good character actors. I'm always keen on recognizing people who are the kinds of people you recognize from other movies or TV shows you've watched. So Joe Morton, was in a lot of things that I certainly watched around the time when this movie was made, like The Brother from Another Planet. S. Ipatha Merkerson, because we were big Law and Order fans. We all knew S.
Oh
Ipatha.
yes,
In
that's
fact, that was a
Sapatha.
joke around the house, like when she would come on in the first scene in a Law and Order episode, Esapatha.
I know it's a great name. It's a great name.
Yeah, Jason Patrick, who shows up in the later seasons of the X-Files. Jeanette Goldstein, who was in Aliens, played Vasquez,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and was also in Near Dark, a great movie. And Xander Berkeley, I think around this time, if you were hiring somebody to play a sort of a sleazy character, you would get Xander Berkeley to do it.
Here, I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and I did not notice him in the film, but apparently Dean Norris is a SWAT team leader. Dean Norris of Breaking Bad fame. That's
I did
crazy.
not know that. I did not
He's
see him
got
at
to be
all.
in the background somewhere. That's hilarious.
Huh.
Speaking
Okay.
of,
A sad fact about this movie was that the Rodney King beating occurred very close to the same location as the biker bar used at the beginning of this movie, just a
yeah,
week after the shooting finished there.
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing. There's some interesting deleted scenes. There's one where you see there's a discussion around the ability to learn on the part of the T-800, Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of the Terminator, the older model. So there's a switch that you have to physical switch that you have to flip, and they get into his head and take out the
Hmm.
chip, and Sarah is going to smash it.
Yes.
And it's actually, I think, at that moment that uh, the actor Edward Furlong had his best scene, which I wish they had kept in almost, because he says, if you don't listen to me that it's a bad idea to do this, how could you ever trust me to
Yeah,
become the
yeah,
leader
that's right.
of the human resistance in the future? If
That's
my
right.
own mom can't trust me, who will? I thought that was actually really good. I wish they had left that one in. There's Go ahead. It sounds like you're
Well,
going to
no,
say something.
I was just going to say, and not to dissuade you from continuing your list. So the version of the movie that I watched that I rented on
Yeah.
Apple TV Plus has all of these scenes in it.
Oh, interesting. Because I did not see that version when I
And
watched it
and
on
you're right. That one
Amazon.
scene with the smash, that was a good scene. Some of the other scenes I wish they left out because it just kind of drew things out a bit much.
Yeah, I
But
mean, there's a scene where John tells the Terminator, "Smile once in a
yeah,
while."
it's a lame scene, I
It's
thought.
a lame scene, but it actually sort of explains things that didn't make sense later in the movie, like
That's true.
when Arnie says "Trust me," and he smirks a little bit. Like, why
That's
is the
true.
Terminator
That's
smirking?
true. Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, there's an interesting scene where the T-1000 in the final battle, I guess he's sort of losing control over his
He's
ability to
glitching.
morph.
He's
He's
glitching.
glitching, right? And he starts to imitate things he touches, like the floor or a metal railing and so
Yeah.
forth, which is then part of the scene where John figures out that the mom he's looking at isn't the real mom because he sees her feet, and
Yeah,
the
that's right.
feet are
That's right.
imitating the catwalk.
I also thought it was supposed to explain, although I don't think it's still because since he was able to imitate her later, like I know there's the scene where the T-1000 makes wants Sarah to call out for John. Like you can imitate her, why don't you do that? I thought at first the glitching was supposed to suggest he couldn't do what he wanted to do, but then he was able to later. So that's kind of a plot hole in my mind. But anyway, yeah,
But there are, as you said, there are other ones that really didn't add anything, like where the T-1000 is in John's foster home and digging around in his room. I didn't think that added a lot necessarily. There's a very nasty scene where Sarah gets beaten by
hmm
orderlies.
hmm
I think they did enough in the theatrical cut of this movie to show
I agree.
that was a horrible place to be. I didn't think that scene was necessary. I think the one that probably gets most talked about is the one where Kyle Reese
hmm
shows up in Sarah's dream when she's in the mental hospital, and then that segues into the vision of
Yes,
Armageddon
yes.
with the kids playing in the playground and so forth. I don't know, man. What did you think of that version of that
So
scene?
again, I mean, I thought I'd just forgotten it. I didn't realize until after I
Hmm.
watched it that it was added. I mean, all of these scenes together add about 13 minutes to the theatrical run of the movie. And I thought that scene was, on the one hand, having a dream about Kyle Reese made some sense. But it felt kind of forced to me a little bit. Also
Yeah,
a little cliche, and also it felt
a
like, oh,
little.
okay, very cliched, and also
Yeah.
oh, here's an excuse to let the guy that played Kyle Reese get a paycheck for this movie. That's kind of what it felt like. I don't know. I didn't need it. I didn't need it actually.
Yeah, I'm glad that that was cut. There's a brief scene of the Dysons at home together, being a
Sounds
loving
like a
couple, and
sitcom about vacuum cleaners.
ah, you really
Yeah,
suck. That's the title.
exactly.
And there's also like a little bit more about the destruction of all the records and the prototype of the chip at Cyberdyne,
Okay.
which I thought didn't need that either.
No, we exploded enough stuff that I didn't need extras. Yeah,
They all got blowed up in the end.
they sure did.
Yeah, though I think probably a lot of people who worked in cubicles might have had a secret thrill at watching somebody trash some
Yeah, no
some
kidding.
office equipment, but otherwise it really did damage
I
it.
also read, but this was not in the version that I saw. Apparently, there's also a scene about Sarah seeing John as a senator in the future to prove that they'd reset time.
Yeah, I didn't see that scene anywhere.
But I read about it because
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what version I was looking at. Because again, the Apple TV screen didn't tell me, but it did tell me the running time, which does match the quote unquote
Right.
extended version. And I mean, I don't, for the most part, very little added to the movie. Although, yeah, you're right. The scene where they take the chip out of Arnie's head also helps better explain what, not that you needed it totally, but it explained what they had from the future.
Right.
Because it shows this control chip that was in his head.
Oh, I think that's an excellent point because I remember seeing this for the first time when Schwarzenegger says, "We are not done yet," and he
Yeah, yeah,
taps his
yeah.
head. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but there wasn't any foreshadowing of it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So those are some facts about the movie. Let's go to our grade.
Sure.
So, what overall grade would you give this movie?
So, I mean, I would give it an A slash A minus somewhere in that range. I think it's a very good movie.
Yeah, I gave it a solid A, particularly
Yeah.
since even more than the first movie, this is clearly it's 1991, but it's basically an 80s action movie.
It's an 80s action movie. I think, again, I always get like at the very top, like what really deserves an A or an A plus. But it's quite good. I maybe downgrade it slightly only because it is in some ways a recycling of the plot from the first movie, which works, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, but it doesn't,
Right,
how about this? It doesn't really add a new cool idea too much to it.
right,
It's just a better telling of the same story, in my opinion, in simple terms.
right. Yeah.
But
So for what it is trying to be, it I thought
yeah,
did a fantastic job.
yeah.
So let's go through the different components of our grade. What would you give the script?
I think the script is a solid A minus script. Again, there's some scenes that work better than others. I think the movie is a little too long. Part of it's because I watched the extended version, but I'm still not even
Yeah.
sure that the 2 hours and 17 minutes was not. The movie has these distinct acts which all work, but like I don't know if I needed as much about like the scene where they go and get the weapons.
Hmm.
The people didn't add anything to the movie. They could have just shown up to some place where she hid the weapons, and that would explain why they had the weapons. And I didn't need the dialogue with the people and the guy hiding. And I don't know that it added anything, for example. Now, maybe you disagree, but go ahead.
Well, I've seen movies where there are people who go to a storage facility someplace and they open up the the
Right.
gate to their storage unit and it's packed full of guns.
Hmm.
And I've always found that very hard to swallow. Like, well, first of all, how did you get them in there without anybody noticing? But where did you get all of them? You must have had a network of people with whom you worked in order to acquire these weapons, particularly if you had some overarching purpose behind it. Even if you're an assassin, you've got other people probably you depend on. Anyway, it didn't bother me because those sorts of scenes always bothered me where seeing somebody whom she had worked with
Right.
that seemed to make a
So
bit more sense to me.
I guess the point that I would make is this: I'm trying to be an editor. I'm trying to think about how to cut because it's
Hmm.
not always fair just to say, well, the movie was too long and they should have fixed that. So I was trying to think what's a legitimate place you could trim. So they could have gone to that compound.
Hmm.
There could have been dialogue about someone who used to be there and probably
Right.
save 5 minutes in the movie. And still have, I mean, I thought the scene, like when they pull the chain and it reveals the underground bunker, I thought this was very effective. I wouldn't want them to go
Hmm.
to like, the rental thing and it's just full of, I take that, but I think you could have accomplished the same goal and save 5 minutes out of the movie. So I'm just trying to think what's a legitimate place to cut that wouldn't have changed. And
Yeah.
that's just an argument. Maybe that's just on the fly. And maybe there are better ways to do it. I take your point about the network, but they're already kind of established, right? There's a bit of dialogue where John tells the Terminator that, we always had these, she was always checking with these guys, anybody that could teach her anything. We were in Nicaragua for a while, which really resonated, obviously, for a 90s
Hmm.
movie.
Right.
She's down there learning guerrilla tactics from the Contras or whatever the heck. So, I mean, I think that they established the notion well enough that I didn't necessarily have to see somebody in particular. But again, it's not like a big critique. I'm just trying to think where would I have cut a few minutes to get this movie down, and that's an area I could have seen it happen.
Yeah, and I agree that would probably be one of the scenes if you were really pushed to cut something that you might consider cutting. Though what you would lose, I think, was a moment when there was a pause to reflect on the stakes, because here you had what looks like almost an apocalyptic landscape in
Hmm.
northern Mexico, in all these rusty old, there's a military helicopter there, and other things, contrasted with Enrique's family.
Right.
These are the people who are going to die horribly if Judgment Day isn't stopped. So I think that's a good thing to try to do, whether you
Hmm.
have to do it versus just getting in a frenzy to get to the next action scene.
Were they in Mexico? I'm confused by that. I thought they were in California
Oh, they
still.
were in California. Oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Because they're
Because
gonna
she's
head
talked
south.
about because they talked about crossing the border. I thought that meant
They were gonna, but they were going to cross the border. That
they
was
were
my
going to.
interpretation. That was
Oh,
my
okay,
interpretation.
my
Again,
bad,
I may have
my bad.
misunderstood. It doesn't matter. I just,
Well, it's the same. It's the same desert.
yeah, it is the same desert. That's
Yeah.
true. And it used to be in Mexico. That some people
Hmm.
seem to forget that fact. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and you could have cut maybe. Of course, I don't know if they were. Maybe one may have been because of the extended cut. I didn't necessarily need to see the, to your point about understanding what's going to happen if Judgment Day happens. See, I thought they did a
Hmm.
really effective job with both the title sequence, which was impressive, and then they showed the playground. But I think they showed the playground at least twice, if not three times.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm including the title sequence. I didn't. I think I kind of got the point.
Hmm.
And that was enough. I mean, I thought there was enough with her tortured backstory and the dreams about Judgment Day, which clearly then motivates her to go try to uh, kill whatever Miles, whatever his last name was, Dyson. How could I forget the Dysons? They
Right.
live next door to the Roombas. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and so the script was written by James Cameron and his co-author for the first movie, William
Hmm.
Wisher.
Yeah.
And I looked at William Wisher's list of credits as a scriptwriter on IMDb. It's not big, and
Mm.
but it does include a couple of movies. Probably people listening to this have watched and probably enjoyed Dread, the
Hmm.
way better Judge Dredd adaptation movie, and The 13th Warrior. It, when I was sitting here looking at the grade, I had my same
Hmm.
thought, my same cranky old man thought that I always have when we get to the discussion of writing in movies. Like, why aren't contemporary scripts this good, especially for action movies? And why aren't they more quotable? Like, what was the last quotable line from a movie like this made in the 2010s or the 2020s you can remember? Just one line, any line.
Well, I don't even know. I can't even know if I can name a movie that would be of a similar type that I've watched lately. I have to even think about what's the last action movie that I watched that was of recent vintage. Um, I, I a slightly counter argument to that. I can quote some TV shows. There's some quotes from, say, Breaking Bad that I might break
Oh,
out.
definitely, definitely. But
So I
movies
think,
are, I
but
think, are astoundingly bad. And
I think there's been a shift. There's been a shift from movies to TV. That's part of the answer to the question. I also wonder about quotability because I really
mhm.
I've thought about this. Part of it is, and this may be a kind of ancient geek situation. We just watched these things more as when we were younger, and then they became more burned into our brains, I think. And plus, this one was just
This is
huge.
one I have to part company with you on. I
That's
think
fine.
I think this was more organically quotable and probably intentionally quotable than how many Marvel movies have we
Well,
seen?
that's what I'm going to say. So Marvel movies that
30,
have,
40.
but I've rarely watched them more than once.
Yeah, this is nothing memorable. But I
With
saw
great
this, and
power comes great responsibility.
well,
That's a
we
Marvel
already
movie.
knew that one. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah, but that one
cheat.
became but it became I don't know. I mean, I find the quotability thing always kind of an interesting question. The way in which these things also broke into pop culture, but you're right. The Marvel movies, I can't think of a good
Or the
like.
John Wick movies. I mean, other than like
I
you
haven't
killed his dog.
yeah, I haven't watched
I
John
watched
Wick,
three of
so
the four John Wick movies. I don't remember really any quotable quotes from them. And this and the previous movie both had "I'll be back."
Right,
You
right, right. Hasta la
live,
vista, baby.
hasta la vista, baby. Yeah. I mean, people saw it once and were quoting it to each other. Hey, remember?
Well, we
Yeah.
also saw them on the commercials ad infinitum. They
Yeah.
were burned into our. I mean, I knew I'll be back. I mean, I'll be back became like this. I don't know. You're right. I mean, and part of it's like I guess it's a chicken and egg thing in my brain, but you're no. There's no doubt at all. I will agree with this. Right, this movie and the previous movie had particular quotes that became pop culture icons. I just know that as geeks, and I think about Monty Python specifically, we all love to find these things to quote.
Hmm.
But I mean, again, like I pointed out a couple. I mean, again, I'm freestyling here, so I'm probably not making full sense. I'm certainly not making a coherent argument. But I noted the other day, I think it was on our 50th episode discussion about Star Trek. It still strikes me that the things that are quotable about Star Trek tend to be from TOS, and I don't know why that is the case.
Hmm.
Beam me up, Scotty. He's dead, Jim. Those are the things that became. But then I can't think of. I know there's probably a good TNG quote that I can't think of right now, but I don't know what it is necessarily. I don't know. I don't know what makes something quotable is also another question. But I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not saying. But again, besides John Wick, God, I can't even think of any action movies I've watched lately. So this is maybe I'm just forgetting, or maybe I
Yeah.
don't watch action movies or movie. But I think it's. But I do agree the writing, I think, has shifted more to television.
Yeah. And the writing in movies isn't as good. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
science.
were talking about Richard Matheson when we did the
Hmm.
episode on the Night Stalker and the Strangler, and I think those movies really worked in part because, and big part, the main part, because of the writing.
Yeah, I think the probably the main argument in favor of your position would be the Marvel movies because they have mass appeal and mass exposure. So and like something like Avengers: Infinity War, which was very popular and well seen.
Hmm.
I can't think of a good quote from the movie.
Yeah, I remember scenes, but not dialogue.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fair.
well, let's move along. The directing and cinematography. What grade would you give
So
those?
I think both were, better than the first movie. I think the directing, the acting, obviously these things are combined, but I felt like it was more organic. It felt more organic than the first movie, which I give some credit to directing. So I'm going to give the directing an A minus. And I think cinematography is quite a bit better. I think um, whether it's a change in technology or the way in which this movie was transferred to streaming, the colors are better in this movie.
Yes.
I think that and of course, part of it's money, but a lot of the action is really well filmed
Hmm.
in a way that I think is some combination of directing. So, like, here's a small example that I guess I would have to give directing the credit for. When Arnold is in the first chase scene, when John Connor is on the bike, the T-1000 is driving that truck, and he's on his motorcycle. There's
Hmm.
this great. I mean, it's so small and kind of silly, but the way Arnold reloads the shotgun with one
Oh
hand
yeah.
motion, it's like really cool. And really clearly somebody thought this through, right? Whether
Hmm.
Arnold made it up at the time, maybe it was some stunt coordinator or the director, and really all the way that's sort of done, I think, is quite well done. And then I probably did write down some scenes that struck me, but
Well,
it just
we'll get to
it
that.
looked better. I mean, I was thinking in
Yeah.
terms of cinematography, the movie looked better to me.
Yeah. Well, the cinematographer, Adam Greenberg, uh, definitely had a particular palette in mind. I was reading about the movie, and
Hmm.
like he said, oh, I wanted things to be sort of a little bit sort of washed out bluish, like under neon light, with
Hmm.
occasional orange highlights. So there was, I think, an opportunity because of the bigger budget, not just to put special effects on the
Hmm.
screen, but also to do more with the cinematography. So he also did Terminator, Ghost, Rush Hour, Sister Act, Dave, Near Dark, and I remember all those being kind of well photographed movies.
Hmm.
Near Dark especially has having a particular feel that comes from the cinematography, both in daytime shots and nighttime shots. So directing though, I mean, what'd you give Cameron for?
I give him an A. I mean, I got no gripe with
Yeah,
the directing. I mean, I think all of that stuff is in anywhere between an A to A minus range, given the cinematography. It is again partially specific compared to the last movie looked a little muddy to me. A
hmm
little I don't know. This one looked more vibrant, which I appreciated.
yes, yeah, and as I said, more mindful.
Yeah,
Like
I think that's
the
true.
shots of the middle hospital, I thought were especially
Yeah, that's
good.
a good example. So I
Yeah,
think again, so let's think about, and again, this is somewhat directing, somewhat cinematography, and somewhat special effects. But I mean, the title sequence I think is very effective.
hmm
All the dream sequences about the nuclear explosion are very effective. I think that yeah, the scenes in the mental hospital when you first see Sarah Connor doing the pull-ups is very effective. And in
right,
fact, some of the scenes in the mental hospital, just about how being shot, how they're shot, I think are well done and not just plain vanilla. There's
right,
some thought into some of the shots I appreciated.
yeah. Oh,
And also
when you
like
for the close shot on Sarah when she first
yeah,
says like good morning, Dr.
yeah.
Silberman. I mean,
And then
that was really good.
the use of smoke in the Cyberdyne
Yeah,
battle scene is really good. So yeah.
yeah. The editor on this movie was Conrad Buff the Fourth.
Oh, you're making that up.
No, it's really Conrad Buff the Fourth
Conrad Buff the Fourth.
who also did Titanic, The Abyss, Training Day, 13 Days. And I bring up Conrad Buff the Fourth not because it's fun to say Conrad Buff the Fourth, but because he's edited some fine movies that Conrad Buff the Fourth. So every time I say, you
He's a
know,
real movie buff.
what I like about
Sorry.
Terminator 2 or so forth, I have to mention Conrad Buff the Fourth because Conrad Buff the Fourth does not get the credit he deserves.
That's fair.
That's the only reason I want to say Conrad Buff the Fourth.
Fair, fair, fair.
Okay. Acting.
So I'm going to give the acting like an A minus. I think the acting is far better than the first movie. And I had some
Oh
gripes
yeah.
about, I felt like, the line delivery was just too flat. I didn't, I had my gripes about Michael Biehn. And then I think Little Hamilton's so much better in this movie, just so much better in
Oh
this movie.
yeah. An
Now, I
order of
will say
magnitude better.
something that I only said in passing, but I really thought about after we recorded last week. Arnold really did a really good job in the first movie. Uh, and he does a good job in this movie, but in the first movie, I think he actually had a harder acting job because it seems like it would be easy just to be a soulless machine, but he really pulls it off in a way that's
Oh yeah.
impressive. And he's good in this. He's good in this movie too. He's a little more the Arnie that I think we come to know from the '90s onward. A little
hmm
more comedic. I mean, it's not a comedic role, but there's comedic moments, and a little more sympathetic, and not just a big muscle guy. But
hmm
he has also, and I noticed. I knew this already, but I noticed it when he appears. He's visibly small. He's still buff. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but he's smaller than he was in the first movie,
Yeah.
muscular wise.
There was a lot of his acting as a machine in this movie
Hmm.
that I thought worked even better. Like a
Okay,
lot of,
fair.
kind of the very precise movements,
That's true.
like you
That's true.
mentioned with reloading the shotgun or,
Yes.
shooting the lock off the gate,
Yes. Yes.
and maneuvering the motorcycle around.
Yes.
That
Agreed.
was really good. For me, I gave the acting a B mostly because Edward Furlong did not work for me then, and he still does not work for me now. It dragged it down a little bit. But Lyndon Hamilton was great. Arnold Schwarzenegger was great. Um, Joe Morton, Esipatha
Hmm.
Merkerson, other people in this movie were all good.
Yeah, I guess I maybe I gave Edward Furlong a little bit of a discount because he seemed like a bratty kid, and that seemed to be true.
Which might be the
Well,
easiest thing for a child actor to play.
yeah, yeah. So what was it specifically that annoyed you?
Well, goes back to what I was saying about the missing scene.
Right,
That was you didn't see his leadership qualities. You
right,
didn't really see anything other than he was a clever hacker, and
right.
that
Oh,
was
that
a
was
useful skill in a
right,
particularly dangerous moment.
right.
But otherwise, like, how is this guy going to grow up to become the savior of humanity?
Yeah, I can see that. I guess the part that I actually like about this movie that maybe I give him a little more leeway is that we meet him at a moment in time in which he's been abandoned by his mother and is probably now convinced she's crazy,
Right.
and is basically just a juvenile delinquent.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't mind the fact that he was kind of a brat trying to process what was going on. Now, I will say there was a little bit of maybe a better actor could have his relationship with Schwarzenegger's Terminator feels a little bit like a kid who found a puppy at times, which
Hmm.
I know.
Yeah.
And the movie wants to make Linda Hamilton's or Sarah Connor's voiceover suggests it's more like a father figure, but it didn't. That didn't come across in the performance entirely to me. It was more like either he found a friend or a puppy dog kind of thing.
Hmm.
Anyway, but that's.
Okay. Okay. So, uh,
But I'll give it an A minus. I like the acting on balance, and maybe it's because I think Linda Hamilton just sort of kicked it up several notches.
oh, definitely. Including scenes where she's not playing the badass. You know, like
Yeah,
when she's shoots up the Dyson's home and
yeah,
then she's there ready to murder him
yeah, yeah,
and she breaks
yeah.
and doesn't do it. That was a very well played scene.
That was a well played scene. My only gripe about that scene is there's just no way in hell she didn't shoot him before she got to that point. There's just no way he survives that barrage. But okay, fine. I will say this.
Okay.
I mean, there are, and this happens in the cyber. And this is a side gripe. It's a side gripe about most 80s action movies up really up until this day. Action, like, there's no way that desks and office equipment are stopping that many automatic weapon rounds.
Yeah.
You
Oh
get
yeah.
behind the desk somehow and you're safe. Like, I don't think that's the way that works. But hey,
Well, and my beef, which is probably a little bit silly, because I'm saying let's be more realistic in action
right,
movies,
right.
but just the pain from being injured, whether you're
Sure.
beaten up in a fist fight or you're
Right,
shot or stabbed or whatever, people just get up and walk around without any visible
right.
pain.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah, you took some damage. Just act like it, man. Right. Okay, so here's the easiest category: special effects.
Oh yeah, it was great, and it wasn't even. I mean the T1000 effect, which I associate so heavily with Odo. It's fine.
Mhm.
Um, the special effects in this movie that really worked for me were, in many ways, the practical effects.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and because it's pretty obvious that a lot of the chase stuff had to have been. I mean, it's not CG. They didn't have that kind of technology at the time.
No.
Like driving the motorcycle out of the building to grab the helicopter. That's an amazing scene.
Yeah, the helicopter chase
Yeah, the helicopter
on the
chase itself.
highway.
All of the chase scenes are
Y-
great.
You
Yeah.
know, when something flips on its side and slides,
Yeah. Yeah.
for a great distance, like where when the liquid nitrogen truck
Yeah.
slides into the steel mill and breaks
Yes.
apart. Oh my God, there were just tons and tons of
Yeah.
how the heck did they do that
That's right.
scenes?
But I wrote down in my notes more than once. You can see the movie, the money on the screen. The money, that's where the money
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. And genuinely thrilling, right? It's
Yeah,
not just,
I agree.
oh, here's another explosion after the last
That's right.
15
That's right.
explosions we've seen. Uh, and I think the movie shows off Los Angeles really well too. It has a real resonance with the way that the movie Heat shows Los Angeles. To go back to the cinematography, I think there's some similarity there. Okay, and as a science fiction story, how would you grade this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would give it like a BB minus, partially because it's in some ways just it's not a new story. It's the same story
Right.
from last movie with some tweaks. It's very entertaining. I mean, I haven't said it yet, but I like this movie more than the first movie. I'd rather watch this movie again than the first movie.
Right.
Oh, they're both like right. I mean, it's not like a massive distance, but I like this movie better because I think also partially because the acting is better, and because it looks a little better. But it's not, you know, it's not an oh wow big idea new thing, right? Except for
Right.
the morphing robot, but that's
Yeah, and because of the morphing liquid metal robot, I gave a B minus to this category as a science fiction story, Now they do incredibly imaginative things with the
Yeah.
T-1000. So rising up out of the floor in a way that was really surprising, but made a lot of sense when the T-1000 is thrown face first into a piece of metal, and then he flips around
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that was good.
like back to front. I mean, all these moments like this really sort of made you gasp at how imaginative it was, but not so much as science fiction in those particular moments. All right, let's go through quickly different parts of the movie. So I've kind of chopped it up into three parts, which is what people do with movies: beginning, middle, and end. So there's the setup.
Right.
So the Terminators appear and all the way through Sarah's escape from the mental hospital. Were there
Hmm.
any particular standout scenes for you in that part of the movie?
Like I said, I like the scenes of Sarah doing the push-ups.
Hmm.
I think the I mean, Linda Hamilton's jacked at this point. She's clearly been training, and it serves a narrative purpose, right? That she's been preparing ever
Hmm.
since the previous film. And she's also clearly in a desperate situation.
Hmm.
You know, and I understand it's totally reasonable why Dr. Silverman thinks she's nuts, but he's also kind of insufferable.
Oh yeah.
I liked, like I said, this is when I noticed the color. This whole segment, I noticed the colors look better in the film. There's some nice transitions, like there's the truck grate. There's like a thing closes and it dissolves into a truck at the
Hmm.
beginning. And I did like I said, the music in the beginning. You started with Dwight Yoakam before you go to, you've got Bad to the Bone and Danger Zone, and this interesting use of pop music at the time.
Right. I thought the scene in the mall too. When
Hmm.
Arnie comes out of the door,
Yeah, that's a
and
great
he's
scene. Yeah,
pulling the shotgun out of
yeah,
the flower box, and we still don't know who's who
yeah,
between
yeah.
the two Terminators. There's a lot of good scenes in the first part of the movie. We talked about them
And the
already, and I
chase
don't want to
scene. The
belabor
chase
them.
scene's
Yeah,
great. That first chase scene down the drainage ditch.
yeah. Oh, and also in the parking garage too was really good.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so from the point where they've decided to end the threat of Skynet through the raid on Cyberdyne,
Right.
how did you feel about that part of the movie?
Yeah.
Because I'm also trying to like tee up where you thought things
So
could be cut.
I think it drug a little bit in that part, right? That's why I picked the
Hmm.
one scene to cut, only because that was a logical thing that I don't think would have damaged the story. Obviously, they did insert more stuff in the extended version that I watched with Miles' family, which probably could have been trimmed.
Hmm.
I I Anyway, what about yourself? I'm looking at notes and not talking. So what about yourself?
Well, I mentioned one, where Sarah decides not to kill Dyson. That
Hmm.
really has always stood out for me as a
Hmm.
great scene. The raid in general on Cyberdyne is fantastic, and
It is.
I
It
think the
is.
things that the Terminator does in order to save them, like strutting out with the minigun, and he manages to decimate the police without killing anybody.
That's an impressive scene when they're blowing up he's blown up all the cop cars. Um, that's a
That's like
great
a
scene.
holy crap moment in the
Yeah, it
movie.
is. It is.
Wow. Or like when
I
he
agree.
like goes out the entrance so he can get the police van, and he's
Yes.
being shot to pieces along the
Yes.
way, and he again like doesn't kill anybody, but
Right.
incapacitates all the police there in the office building entrance.
I will say, and this happens twice in this movie. I don't know that elevators are a good idea. Luckily, it all worked out fine, but I just feel like that maybe you should take the stairs just in case.
Maybe. But I think this is what makes a good scene in an action movie is when it can be both logical and amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can come up with ideas for amazing things that make no sense.
Sure, sure,
Like
sure,
why
sure.
isn't this person dead, or how could they
Hmm.
possibly do this, and so forth. Or you could do things that are logical but just not that exciting. But to do logical and amazing, I think is a good accomplishment.
And as I mentioned, the motorcycle out of the building to the helicopter is impressive.
Oh my God, is it
It's
ever?
noting again.
Worth noting, definitely. And then we have the long chase at the end
Yes.
and the final battle. Um,
Another great chase scene. That
yeah,
is really well done with the helicopter and the truck and everything. Uh, Excellent stuff.
yeah.
Well choreographed.
Now, you
Or
may strongly disagree with me, but if I were looking for something to trim, it would be in this part of the movie.
okay. For
I think
example,
that one extended scene goes on a bit long.
you mean on the freeway?
Yeah, so on the
I
freeway
can
and
see
then
that.
leading
Yeah.
into the long, cat and
Yeah,
mouse in the
I
mill.
agree. I agree. No, you could trim some of that. I don't. I think it's impressive, but you could trim it. It does go on for a bit much, and we do have multiple vehicles involved, and maybe we didn't need all the rickety truck, the helicopter, and then the
Hmm.
liquid nitrogen and all that. Yeah, I will say, boy, what a lucky place to crash. Right there
Yes.
at that foundry. How much more could you ask
Well,
for?
as we said last time, I mean, this is the staple of action movies in the 80s and 90s. I mean, there's always a refinery, factory,
Yes, yes.
some sort of abandoned industrial facility or a live industrial facility if needed by the plot in this case,
Yeah.
where people can chase each other.
I do agree you could trim the foundry scene in particular. The cat and mouse
Hmm.
in the foundry goes on a bit long. And it does, I mean, it's a trope. There's got to be a list somewhere. But I wrote it down. It's a rule the first kill never works, right? This was true in
Right,
Alien. It was true in Aliens. It was true in the Terminator. You think you killed them. Oh, no, you haven't.
right.
But that's fine.
And it went on too long because of, I thought there's at least one moment when the T-1000 is not moving as quickly as he should
Yeah,
have been.
that's
Like
fair.
he's
That's
like slowly walking up some steps. Like he should be just like jumping at John Connor and killing him at that point.
Well, I mean, part of it that the scene that's cut, although it was in the version that I saw, where
Hmm.
after he reassembles after the liquid nitrogen, shattering, and then he pulls all the pieces back together. And that, by the way, I think it was an effective a bit of foreshadowing when that
Hmm.
one piece gets stuck on the car and John throws it out and it reabsorbs to
Right.
set that scene up. That was well done. And he is clearly damaged, though. And I think that's what the stepping on the grate and sort of imitating was supposed to evoke that he was
Right.
damaged. And that would explain some of the slowness. But then again, and it explains why he didn't initially imitate Sarah, but then he does later. So all of it kind of doesn't totally jibe. Because by the end, he seems back to normal almost, except for that one mistake of not fully imitating Sarah in that one scene.
Right. And
But
that was something when I saw the movie for the first time I wondered about because he had actually touched Sarah in the elevator when they were escaping. Remember, he, turns his arm into a big sword and then
right,
jams it through the ceiling of
that's
the
right.
elevator.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, why didn't he imitate her earlier? Or, the piece of the Terminator that's on the back of the car that John
yeah,
flips off. Okay,
yeah.
he's touched now
John,
John, so
that's
why
right.
doesn't he imitate John at some point?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
just a question mark. It didn't spoil the movie, but just a question
Right.
mark. Uh, so, which of these three parts of the movie that I've arbitrarily defined would you say was the strongest?
That's a good question. I think in some ways I found the first part to be the strongest, followed by the third part, followed by the middle part. Not like widely. That's my arbitrary on the
Hmm.
top of my head ranking. I don't think either of them are way separated in space from one another. But that's the excuse me. That's the ranking that I would give. What ranking would you give?
I would give it to the first part. It's a hard choice.
Yeah.
It's not like there's clearly part where the movie sags a lot or
No.
something goes on far too long. Though we did say some things in the last part of the movie could have been trimmed a little bit, but
You could. I think the movie could be tightened. Maybe trimmed is not even the right word. I just,
yeah,
again, I do think the scene and some of those scenes that were inserted did work, but there just needed to be some tightening.
okay,
That's all. I would love not to, and this is totally arbitrary and it's also subjective, right? I just would like not to ever ask myself how much time is left in this movie,
right, exactly.
and I did a couple of times.
Hmm. Yeah, same here. And I think that's also unfortunately one of the downsides of not watching something in the theater because I didn't remember feeling that way
Hmm.
watching it. I was happy to go along with the ride. I keep using the roller coaster ride metaphor, and I have to stop doing that because I've hammered it to death. But
How about a flume ride?
a flume ride. But in watching it, on my computer or on the big
All right.
screen downstairs or whatever, yeah, it's inevitable. You're gonna look at your watch.
But I do it. I do it. I mean, I remember doing it when we watched Superman. There's when I saw Superman in the theater, and probably the Fantastic Four too. Part of it
Hmm.
is I have an internal. We all do. I'm sure. We have an internal clock. I'm like, so how far? Part of it's just like
Hmm.
trying to figure out where we are in the movie. Like, how close are we to the climax? How much are we still in the middle? And I might be curious. But I mean, a really good. It happens when I don't notice, right?
Hmm.
That's the best for me if I don't want to know what the time is.
Right. Well, the
And
worst part, if it's a long movie and you reach a point, let's say, 45 minutes, half an hour away from the actual conclusion of the movie,
yeah,
when you say there's more movie, they could stop it here.
that's what I mean. That's yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that isn't the case with this one, but there are
right.
lots of movies
There
like
are
that.
movies that's the case. Yes, that's
Mhm.
correct.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I think one of the big distinguishing features between this movie and the first movie is the humor.
Yeah,
There's some dark humor, particularly in bits of dialogue in the original movie, but
right.
this movie is deliberately more humorous. Did that work for you? Did it
I
bother
think it
you
did. Yeah,
ever?
it worked
Okay.
for me. I think maybe at times if they, I can't think of a good example. Like I said earlier, you're clearly in this transition period for Arnold Schwarzenegger as an actor, as a star, and things get a little more lighthearted over time, right?
Hmm.
Before he transitions to, in some ways, a comedic actor for some of his films.
Hmm.
So maybe, it felt like an attempt. Well, I think it was, he had been this murderous machine in the first movie, so you had to have a separation. That may be part of the script notion. I think
Hmm.
it worked, but it worked for me on balance, right? It did feel a little forced at times, but I can't think of a good example, so that just may be an overall impression. What about you?
I liked it a lot,
Hmm.
both then and now. I think there were a couple of times I could have done without it. I think at the very end when he gives the thumbs up as he's sinking into the
Yeah,
molten steel, that was a little goofy.
I did write that down. I've never liked the thumbs up scene. I
No.
didn't. It just seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
Um, and again, the smile scene that was inserted, I thought was a little. I understand your point about why it explains something later. It still feels
Hmm.
a little too silly.
Yeah. Though it was funny seeing him trying to imitate a smile in
That's
that
true.
earlier
I mean,
deleted
and of
scene.
course, obviously, the whole discussion about slang was pretty good. I did like that in the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. Again, I always laugh at he'll live.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. So any other final thoughts in general about the movie? Think there's things we haven't covered about what you liked or what you didn't like?
No, I think we covered pretty well. I mean, it's an enjoyable film. I would recommend the
Hmm.
film. I would recommend probably finding the slightly shorter version, but that's again a nitpick. Um, it belongs in the pantheon of great action films. How about that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say that it really struck me this time around because the first time you see that you're really overwhelmed by the action scenes and the special effects and so forth.
Yeah, yeah,
But
sure.
at its heart in this movie, it accomplishes something really critical of every movie, but also ones in which you might just kind of lose any attachment to the human beings on the screen in the midst
Right.
of all the
That's right.
violence and
That's right.
flashing lights and so forth. And that this is a movie about sympathetic characters doing believable things in the face of Armageddon.
And the stakes are quite high, and they're believable stakes,
Yeah,
especially for children of the Cold War like us that really did
right.
believe and did know, in fact, we could have blown the place up. So. Still can actually, but that's his own problem.
Yeah,
But
with moments when I think especially now watching it again years and years later, there are scenes of Sarah's intensity
yes,
and not craziness, but just
no, no, she's
mania to do whatever's necessary in order
yeah,
to stop Judgment Day that play really well. Like in the Dyson's home when she's saying, "Well, you're a man, you don't know what it's like to have a life growing in you," and John says, "Okay, mom."
yeah,
But
that's right.
yeah, I get
No,
it. I get it.
well,
Why
two
someone like her
scenes.
would want to have that particular monologue.
I mean, aside from the part in the mental hospital where she's clearly like just trying to do whatever she can to get
Mhm.
out. I like I think it's a good scene, and I think that Edward Furlong does fine with this scene in the car where he's just happy to
Hmm.
have got his mom back, and he also now knows she's not crazy, and
Right,
she's like checking for. He thinks they're just hugging, and she's checking for wounds,
right.
and she's like berating him for rescuing her. I thought that was actually a very good scene, and it fit the character quite well. Also, when she leaves to go kill Dyson, she's not thinking about the mother part. She's thinking about the Armageddon part. And I
Hmm.
think that fits the character, who's clearly been driven to a particular point since we last saw Hard Pop's Big Boy.
Yeah. A lot of growth there. A lot of growth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Uh, when you saw this, were you an Arnie fan at the time? Did
I mean,
this make you more of an Arnie fan?
I think this probably made me more of an Arnie fan. I think that
Hmm.
I was sort of aware of him. I don't even know. I mean, I'd seen the Terminator, obviously. I'm trying to think that if that was the first movie I saw him was the Terminator, that it's possible.
Hmm.
He was still, I think, in my mind, developing from this sort of clearly an action star to superstar. It's right in that moment, right?
Right.
Because after this, he's a superstar, and everything that happens after this is like,
Well, he was a
I
known quantity
yeah, oh, known
because,
quantity, but
because of the documentary Pumping Iron originally, but that
yes,
didn't have like wide public awareness.
right. But I mean, I think between Conan and the Terminator, he was an
Hmm.
established action hero of
Right.
star. But I think that he somewhere in this moment between the Terminator and T2, and then, you know, I'm looking at his IMDb, but like, you mentioned True Lies.
Hmm.
True Lies, is that right?
Yeah,
No.
True
Yeah.
Lies.
I was thinking Big Little Lies, different movie, different TV show. But
Hmm.
Kindergarten Cop actually was before. Actually, we'd seen Kindergarten. I know we saw that in the movie theater,
Hmm.
but that was the year
A
before.
classic.
I thought it was after, but we saw Total Recall had already come out. So yeah, he was already a star. Twins was 88. I thought that was after. Anyway, so yeah, I think I saw that on videotape, but he was already a huge star. It was all this
Hmm.
moment, right? But
Right.
I think this certainly made him more of a star. I still I haven't seen The Running Man. I haven't seen the Conan movies, but
And I wonder
anyway.
how many moviegoers at the time who were fans of Arnold when he got more fame, said, "Oh, there was this other movie that we missed, The Terminator. Let's
Right.
go let's
That's
go
right.
back and rent that and see how good it was."
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's definitely true. It's
Okay.
funny, yeah, because I'm looking at it as, I mean, not to belabor this, but I mean, there really is this concentration outside of the well, with the action movies, but
Hmm.
there's Predator, The Running Man, those are 87, Twins is 88, Total
Conan is
Recalls,
when 82.
Conan, the Destroyer is 84, The Barbarian is 80, 82, 82.
Yeah.
82, 84, and the Terminator is 84. I really think the
Hmm.
Terminator is what, in my own mind, was the thing that sort of launched him to another level. But then, this other set of movies that I just named. But even after, then Total Recall 90, Kindergarten, it's like a really substantial concentration of movies because
Yes.
that's two big hits in 90, Total Recall and Kindergarten Cop, followed by T2 in 91. Um, I don't remember him being in Dave, but apparently he paid himself in Dave. I don't remember that at all. But then True Lies in 94, Junior in 94, Jingle All the Way in 96, which was, and of course Batman and Robin, which I actually haven't
Hmm.
seen. Um, but that's a lot of A lot of big budget movies in the 90s, all across an array of genres even.
Yeah, don't see the Batman movie.
No, there's a reason why I haven't seen it. I've been warned. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's not worth my time.
There was a great review of it. I forgot who did it. It may have been Kenneth Turan, but he said that this movie was photographed in a way that it could immediately leap onto a Burger King cup. I just love that
That's a
line
great
from the
line. That's a
review.
great line. Anyway,
Yeah. All right.
enough
So I have
enough
admittedly a
rambling.
tough question here.
Okay.
So ranking action movie
Oh
stars
yeah,
of this
I did.
era. So how would you rank in order Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, Jackie Chan, and Harrison Ford?
So it all depends on how you went to the criteria. I mean, I did put Harrison Ford at the top, but that's because he's Harrison Ford. It's not just because of an action star, I don't think.
Right.
I,
But of
I think
action movies made during this
so.
era,
I mean, if it's just X, so what movies are even given Ford in the 90s for action movies? What's a Ford action movie in the 90s? Or I mean, are we doing the Indiana Jones stuff? Is that what you
yeah,
consider as part
I
of
would
this?
I consider Indiana Jones. I know that Air Force One was in the
Yeah,
early '90s.
yeah, yeah. So I
I'd put
mean,
that in the list. The
it's
Fugitive,
okay. The
probably.
Fugitive would fit. Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, what I wrote down, but I'm not sure that I could defend this. Would be Ford, Arnie, Stallone, Chan, and Willis. But like particular movies, I would definitely put Die Hard much higher than the bottom of the list. So
Hmm.
it's very hard. I think generically, in some ways, it's a tie between. I'm just thinking about the vibe, not about the actual movies or even what I watched. Just the vibe.
Hmm.
Schwarzenegger and Stallone are like these iconic. They're the top of the list in terms of this era. When I just think about action movies of this era, because Ford is an action movie star, but he's also so many other things that I don't think of him in the same way as I think of those two actors. Does that
Hmm.
make any sense?
Yeah,
I
I
I
can see
don't,
that.
but I don't know how to what my criteria are, and I tried. But what's your ranking?
So I would place Ford at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably put Schwarzenegger second,
Mm-hmm.
and then it becomes a little harder
Right.
between Willis and Jackie Chan because I didn't see a lot of Jackie Chan movies at the
I
time.
didn't either.
I love Jackie Chan, but I saw most of them probably for the first time in the 2000s, in
Mm-hmm.
the 2010s. So, but at the same time, Willis wasn't in that many movies. I mean, Die Hard, of
No,
course,
this is a
really
Die Hard
overshadows
franchise.
everything.
Yeah.
So, it's a toss up between the two for third and fourth. I'll say if you asked the version of me that was living in the 80s and 90s, it would probably be Bruce Willis. If you ask the version of me now, it'd probably be Jackie Chan would be number three.
But is that
But
a bootstrap paradox, which we have in
it,
this movie, by the way?
yes, yes, it would. And then it would be Stallone at the bottom. I never liked Stallone.
So I think, yeah, in terms of my personal preferences, yeah, it's Ford, Schwarzenegger, Willis, and then Stallone, Chan because I really have not seen that. Maybe put Chan above Stallone in terms of personal preference.
Hmm.
I guess in terms of like icon, if we were like just talking about, that's why I struggle with this, like iconic action characters that would exemplify this era, right? Stallone's got Rocky and Rambo, and he's got a bunch of other sort of just pure action movies. I
Hmm.
mean, what more could you ask for than a movie about arm wrestling? Um,
Well, I'll tell you.
so
Here's a Stallone moment for me. So he came out with this sort of very stale idea of doing a kind of a cop-centered action movie called Cobra.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't love Stallone to begin with.
No,
And like the poster was him with this big gun, and it
hmm
had this sort of really disgusting sentiment in the blurb for it was something
Hmm.
like, crime is the disease and he's the cure.
Right.
Like he's
Right.
just
Right.
gonna
Right.
like blow away all the punks in the movie. Which
Sure.
that was an accurate prediction when I
Oh
finally
yeah.
did see the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then later, much later, like only a few years ago, I saw it because I refused to see it before. It's like this movie is just
Right.
objectionable on so many levels.
Right.
I'm not going to give it my money. But now it was one of the most insanely bad movies
Hmm.
ever that I enjoyed it from that perspective. It is just nuts. Like when the scene where he eats pizza by cutting it apart with a pair of scissors, because that was Stallone's idea of how to have a distinctive character quirk. Just
That's great.
absolutely a
That's great.
magical moment in
At
filmmaking.
least he didn't shoot it up with a Uzi or something.
And it's like it was edited way down to the point where it's almost nonsensical what's happening in
Sure.
the movie.
Sure.
It's just insane.
I guess what part of what I'm struggling with, again,
Hmm.
we agree on, I think, the quality of these actors.
Yes.
I think that in my mind, though, of this list of this is in some ways damning with faint, not saying faint praise. It's damning
Hmm.
the career of these actors. The one that strikes me as the most action movie is Stallone. Like all of his movies, with
Hmm.
some exception, are just like you just described. They're just action movies. Like Schwarzenegger has a more varied career.
Yes.
Ford has I think one of the best careers. I mean, he's in the pantheon, right, of
Right.
actors over time.
Oh yeah,
He's not
he
just
did mysteries, he did
yeah,
comedies,
yeah.
he's a lot like Cary Grant in that
Yeah,
sense.
that's who that's making a Mount Rushmore. Maybe
Yeah.
he and Cary Grant are in the same kind of category.
Hmm.
And so many varied movies. And likewise with Bruce Willis, I don't think of as solely an action hero, but Die Hard clearly is high up on his
Hmm.
CV. And Jackie Chan, who I haven't again, I know I'm aware of and have seen Jackie Chan, but he's you know a martial artist and also other things. So in some ways, I would kind of damn Stallone by saying he's the top of this list because that's really all that he was in my mind.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Rocky's a good movie, but
Hmm.
after that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point because like a lot of the classic Hollywood actors whom I've enjoyed over the years, Cary Grant, Humphrey Bogart, Kirk Douglas, Henry Fonda, they often not only played different sorts of characters in different
Right?
genres of movies, but often played bad guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Like Ace of the Hole, and Out of the Past. Kirk Douglas plays really incredibly memorable villains, while he's also played Spartacus
Right.
and lots of other heroic
Or you,
characters.
you take someone like Clint Eastwood who did action films or cop
Hmm.
movies, but did a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
But John Wayne is just kind of John Wayne, right? Even though he has some good performances, but he's John Wayne.
Have you seen The Searchers?
I have. It's a good
Have you
movie.
seen Red River?
I don't know that I maybe.
I had the same impression about John Wayne, but when I actually went back and watched a lot of his movies, he had a much more varied career, particularly in the middle. Like at the beginning, he
Sure.
played just, the same sort of B movie
Right.
cowboy protagonist,
Well,
including a brief stint crazily as a singing cowboy.
yeah, he's also in that movie. What's the movie with Maureen O'Hare?
Oh, the Quiet Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but and then late in life he had that sort of stereotype that he played to about John
sure.
Wayne playing John
Well, I
Wayne.
guess my point is, in terms
Yeah.
of it, I'm not going to say he didn't have a range, and you've watched the stuff more recently than I have, and I associate John Wayne in many
Hmm.
ways with just it being on at my grandfather's house and seeing parts of movies, but never
Hmm.
necessarily seeing all of them, although I've
Yeah.
seen some. I'm not saying he didn't have talent, he did, but I mean, he didn't have, well, to pick the people we just named, he doesn't have Harrison Ford's career
No.
or even Clint Eastwood or Gregory Peck or Cary Grant. There wasn't as many varied kind. I mean,
Yeah,
he was
Jimmy
good at what he,
Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Um, so I think he has a certain range, and it's of course I would say he's a well. How about I not go down this rabbit hole any further and just dig myself out and say, let's move on to your next question?
No, you're not. There's nothing to dig yourself out of. Not at all.
Well,
I'm
a
basically
digression.
agreeing with you.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've talked about sequels before.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Star Trek movies, a series of sequels, the Star Wars movies,
Hmm.
Alien and Aliens. Which do you think is the best sequel as a sequel?
Of your
Not
list
not
here?
as a standalone movie, but as a sequel. Terminator 2, Aliens, or Star Trek 3?
Yeah, that's
Because we forget about the first Star Trek movie that didn't happen, but Star Trek 3 is a sequel to Star Trek
well,
2.
three is a direct sequel to two. There's no
Hmm.
doubt. Just as Aliens is, and I think these are a good. I mean, so obviously my soft spot is I love Star Trek 3 and I always have, and it does
Hmm.
complete a story in a way that I find satisfying. Um, I think I think T2 may be right, and maybe it's recency bias. We've seen all these movies relatively recently.
Right.
I think T2 may be the best sequel of the three on the list, but it's all close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, this was an era of great sequels.
Yeah.
Uh, I I kind of lean in the direction of Aliens, though I added a different question, which is the most rewatchable sequel?
Hmm.
Not just kind of giving it props for
I
being a
mean,
great sequel, but like, what would
yeah.
you like to fire up and watch again?
So for me, it's Star Trek 3.
Oh,
But
easily for
again,
me too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it's not just because it's a Star Trek movie, but
No, I can
I
watch him steal the Enterprise over and over and over again. I love that scene.
yeah, and I often do watch it.
Yeah.
just just because I feel like I need a boost, I'll watch the stealing of the Enterprise again.
Sure.
Do you think that the movie did a good job of wrapping up the storyline from the first movie?
Yeah, I think it did. I think arguably, especially with that the voiceover at the end, and arguably that they destroyed um, Cyberdyne, that should have
Hmm.
stopped Judgment Day, and this should have been the end. I have not. Well, to anticipate your next question, I have never watched any other Terminator, so I don't know how they managed to keep telling the story. But what did you think about?
Well, they had to undo in the third one. They had to undo the closure
Uh-huh.
of the second movie to have a third
Right,
movie, and they
right.
did it by way of saying that there was a hand wavy path towards Judgment Day still happening, and then they fast forwarded into the future for one of the sequels.
Hmm.
So they didn't have to have continuity of the timeline
Right.
in the near future with the first two movie or the third one. I'm not a fan of the sequels.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not a fan of the sequels past Aliens
Hmm.
in that particular franchise. So I didn't need a sequel. I kind of expected that someday Hollywood would make the mistake and
Sure.
do
Sure. Sure.
sequels,
Sure.
but I certainly wasn't looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Any lessons from this movie about CGI? I mean, because this and Jurassic Park launched CGI and public awareness as
I,
a really
yeah.
important fixture of filmmaking.
I don't know that I have a. I mean, I think Jurassic Park had a more profound effect because it allows you to do things that you couldn't do.
Hmm.
Unless I'm missing something, and I may well be. When I think of the CGI in this movie, I'm thinking specifically the T-1000,
Oh,
right?
definitely, yeah.
I don't know there's any other CGI of consequence in the movie. I don't know that I think all it did was show that there are possibilities.
Hmm.
As Mr. Spock likes to say, there are always possibilities.
Yes.
And so that may be all that it presaged. Jurassic Park, which I haven't seen in a very long time, but it really did suggest that like you can't get the Marvel movies without Jurassic Park, right? I mean, you can't. This is a whole
Hmm.
different kind of ability to reshape the world for good or for ill, because of that movie. More than this movie, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
So I think that the lesson that Hollywood didn't learn from this movie was CGI can be amazing. It can be
Mm,
breathtaking.
hmm.
It can be essential in the way that you said of making it possible to see things on the screen that wouldn't otherwise
Hmm.
be filmable. Like I
Right.
remember, do you remember there like the Land That Time Forgot? Back in the day when like the people were trying to do dinosaurs on
Oh
screens and
yeah.
like
Oh,
these big
yeah.
puppets
Yeah. Or
that looked
stop motion
ridiculous,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
or lizards with horns pasted on
Yeah.
them.
That's right. Right.
So hallelujah that we have this technology. But I think watching this movie again, what really struck me was that the CGI often would just enhance a scene with something that was otherwise impossible. But it didn't completely overtake everything,
Sure.
including things that
Sure.
could be practical effects. Like you're looking at a helicopter chasing a vehicle and it's a
Right.
real helicopter, or it's
Right.
the helicopter that you jump, the motorcycle out the window
Yes.
and grab
Yes.
onto it and so forth. And it just looks better than the CGI generated equivalents of that in a lot of movies today. They're just all over the place. And so I think in that sense, then, do things when essential, but don't try to replace everything with
Hmm.
CGI.
Right. That's
Would
fair.
would be my advice to people who are never going to listen to that. All right.
Oh, you don't think Hollywood's listening to Ancient Geeks? Come on now.
I'm sure like we have a straight line into the heads of all the
Absolutely.
studios.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from our mouths to their ears. All right. Well, wrapping up our signature question, our questions about merch. So, what merch did you have from T2?
All I can do is say what I said last week. I had that Terminator 2099 video game, which I think was really more based on, well, no, it was really more based on the first movie, but although there's some scenes at the beginning that I think ported over. That's it. I had nothing.
Yeah, so I had the little Terminator figure I mentioned before,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I bought it in the aftermath of the first movie or the second movie. I just remembered actually just a second ago that I did have a T-shirt
Okay.
of the figure of Arnie from the poster in my collection of ugly T-shirts. I don't remember wearing it a lot though, for some
Yeah.
reason. No, I have no explanation.
So,
All right, what merchandise do you wish you had?
so because it was in the deleted scene that was in the extended version with the Kyle Reese stream, I did
Hmm.
notice the duster that you wanted last week and realized
Yeah.
that that was a better choice than Arnie's jacket. So I'll
Okay.
take Kyle Reese's duster.
Yeah. It's a pretty great duster.
Yeah.
I think for me the obvious one is the Arnie's sunglasses.
No, you're stealing. I had that one last week. See, it's
I
all
know.
just we're just stealing things back and
I
forth
know. We're
between the
just
two of us.
plagiarizing each other. So I'll say something which did not exist but should have. A horribly blown opportunity
Yeah.
was to have a version of Rock'em Sock'em Robots with the two
Sure.
models of Terminators
Yeah,
smashing each other to pieces.
that works. By the way, before I forget, because I did mention it in an aside, it is fascinating to me that both movies have bootstrap paradoxes in them. First, it's
Yes.
Kyle Reese comes back in time to conceive of John Connor, but John Connor sent Kyle Reese back. And then this one is the Terminator, the Cyberdyne technology is because they had the Terminator technology from the first movie. And so I would recommend anyone who hasn't watched Doctor Who to find just Google Bootstrap Paradox Doctor Who, and you can see Peter Capaldi explain this to you rather dramatically, including
Hmm.
playing Beethoven's Fifth on an electric guitar. It's great. So that's a recommendation.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll hop in our time machine and call it a day.
The only problem with the time machine in this franchise is you have to travel naked.
That's a problem.
And on that note,
On that note, thanks for listening, everybody.
see you next week.
That brings this bootstrapped time loop to a close. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please like and subscribe and leave a review on the podcast app of your choice. You can contact us directly at someancientgeeks@gmail.com. We post frequently at our Substack, someancientgeek.substack.com, and you'll also find us on Reddit, Facebook, and Blue Sky. All content is copyright 2026, Tom Grant and Stephen Taylor. Music by Reversed Image, whom you can find on Pixabay. See you next time. Welcome to Ancient Geek.
Well, you cutting me out there? Cutting me
Yeah.
out. Just one geek.
Just one geek. It's all that planet Earth can take.